What's up, everybody? Nick Pags here. So excited to have you here for another beautiful podcast episode. I'm telling you, this is a big one. For a lot of you, the biggest challenge we face is communication in our relationship with our partner, in our families. And what we talk about is the depths of communication that B and I have had to go throughout our relationship, but more importantly, just as a whole. Why is it important to communicate? How to effectively communicate? And even when we have different styles, how do we come together and create cohesiveness to get to the end result, which we ultimately desire, which is connection and a deeper relationship? You deserve to watch this one. It's going to make you a better father, a better husband, and a better partner. I look forward to really diving into this with you. Let's get after it. Hey, I'm Nick.
And I'm Bia.
We don't have all the answers, but we're definitely in it. And if you're ready to lead your family by being more of yourself, not less, then you're in the right place.
We are so grateful to be in this with you.
This is Dad Easy. Let's get into it. We're back with another beautiful episode. And obviously the most beautiful guest that ever exists. I mean, I guess I can't call you a guest. Yeah. You're just
the co-host.
Yeah, you're my co-host. You're my life host, my co-lifer. You're a lot of things. But we're talking about arguments today. So we'll see how this goes. We're talking about arguments because I know that when it comes to being a dad, in order to have a really, and I can't even say this yet from the having child aspect, but being in relationship with people, with a partner, challenging times offer an opportunity for growth and an opportunity for expansion and depth of relationship. And it often shows either the weaknesses or the gaps or what's missing or where we can grow in a relationship. Mm-hmm. And I think that when I look at our relationship specifically, it's the thing that, what are we, 5 years in now?
Almost 6. 5 years and a half, yeah.
5.5 years in, I think that's the thing that I lean on the most, is that we have always found a way to come back together as a team and have somewhat of an effective communication source, whether that be getting help from the outside, whether that be just the two of us together, whether it's an internal, like I need to work with myself thing and then come back to the relationship. We've done a pretty damn good job, in my opinion. So far, I know we got a lot of life to live. And I have a feeling that becoming a dad, that communication aspect, like, geez, the stuff that we're going to visit, we're already visiting about our kid and decisions we need to be making that are very, they go right at the trigger, is a good word. So I just want to talk about that. And I guess where we can start is, why is communication important? Yes, for us and just for anybody in their partnership and their relationship, as a parent, as somebody in a working relationship, or an intimate one. Why is communication so important?
I think communication is the foundation of any relationship. If you don't have a great communication in a relationship, you probably don't have a good relationship. That's my perspective on it. And I think I got much better at communicating after our relationship because I used to suck at it, to be honest. And I think one of the things that you made me grow in the relationship, as an individual, as a person, was in my communication skills. That's for sure. Like, that's one of the biggest lessons, I don't know, like skills. Or
how did I make you grow in that?
I think I had this fear of confrontation. So I would make up stories of what would happen if we would talk about things, or if I would express what I was feeling, or if I would say exactly what I was thinking, you would create another story of it, or you wouldn't understand me, or all these things that I had from past relationships, from the relationship with my parents and friends, and the experience of life that I had before you. And I think when you came and when we started having a relationship, I think you were much better than I was. And I think you helped me to see how important it was to have a strong communication between the two of us and how important it was to express exactly what we were thinking. And I think we built a very important foundation in terms of like when things are heated, sometimes you end up saying things not exactly as you mean. And sometimes we
Are you
just,
saying me or just people in general?
people in general,
Okay.
I used to do that a lot. Like I used to just like say things and I would be like freaking out or like not saying things that I want to say. And I think together we created a foundation, a relationship that really helped us to express what we were feeling without being judged. And knowing that sometimes we say things that it's not exactly what we mean. And we come together and we ask questions to each other and we try to get into a point of understanding each other. So before our relationship, I don't think I was very good at communication. I feel like now I'm better. I still have a lot of things to improve in terms of my communication skills in this relationship. But I consider myself being much better. And I also, there's one more thing. It's like, I didn't know what was my best way to communicate. And I think people have different ways to communicate about things. And I think we are, as we are growing, we are changing as well how we communicate about things. And I think you also taught me that we have different styles of communication, and that's okay.
Yeah. It's also interesting to note the dynamic because I think generally, or maybe this isn't true, but it's just kind of like a, what do you call it? Stereotype that women are the communicators and men are not. And I can't even say that I have seen that more than the other way around. I think the stereotypical, maybe classic, the guy holds it in and doesn't talk much, and the girl's like, let's talk about it. Maybe, and maybe it's just who I'm hanging around or the work I've been doing. I don't know. But I think that if we were to look at us, what I'm hearing you say and what I would agree with is that you're a great communicator to people in your life. But when it comes to confrontation and intimate conversation, like deeper than just like communicating, and because I think you're one of the best in the world out of anybody I've ever met in my life. At when somebody's like off or not feeling good, or you have a sense that something, whatever, you like go right to them and say, hey, like you're the one who goes to that person who's kind of in the corner and needs help. So you are a communicator. It's just when it's about your stuff or it's something that doesn't feel good for you, you avoid it. And or have in the past, probably because it's partially what you were taught. And I think that that's really important to recognize. My point being with all of this is that we all have different styles of communication due to where we came from, what our parents taught us, or the people who raised us. And I think in your household, it was more just like yell, scream, and then disappear.
Yeah. And also like there's one thing that was coming up that matches what you're saying right now. I think for me, it was so hard also to communicate it because I used to not express in the moment, and that thing would build up and I would never talk about that. And then the next thing would come and then that thing would build up. So whenever it was time to express something, there was like, I can't handle this anymore. I just didn't I didn't know how to navigate that because it became much bigger than it was supposed to be. So I think we had a few times this in our relationship where I just like didn't want to talk about it. So I just like, as I like to say in Portuguese, we just put it under the carpet. And then it's getting there. And then there's the point that you're like, I can't just hide this anymore. Like I need to talk about this.
Yeah. So let's look at that because I think that's a very regular experience for couples.
Yeah.
Which is, you know what, this is just easier right now to not talk about. Right? We have different viewpoints. Every time you start to say that thing, it pisses me off. Even when we go into that topic, it drives me crazy. And you were like, hothead when we started dating. Like, whatever you think Brazilian is in terms of spiciness, add like another 50%. That's where you were at. You were injected with some shit.
Well, you were also someone that exaggerates a lot. So,
well, it's interesting. I have the exaggeration bug, but even more importantly, I'm like very stern about my beliefs. Like I'll be stubborn about something.
Yeah.
And I think my growing point during that time in the beginning of our relationship was I really wanted to be right about things. Like I think I've grown and evolved a little bit in that department. I definitely still have work to do, but it was more, and that's, dude, just when I think about men in general, or just people, to be quite honest, if you can let go of your need to be right, which is one of the survival strategies of our ego, right?
Mhm.
Like the need to be right, the need to look good, the need to be safe or comfortable, or the need to be in control of things. Our ego is always trying to grasp one of those things in order to be okay.
Mhm.
And I think that was a big ego part of our relationship for me in the beginning, where I was like, if I'm wrong about this, then I'm going to look stupid, or I'm going to be embarrassed, or she's not going to care about me anymore. And it's like, obviously, all the total opposite is going to happen.
Mhm.
She's going to respect me more because I owned a mistake I made. She's going to be able to communicate better with me. We're going to have more loving conversation. We're going to grow from this. Like if I let go of all that stuff, but my ego reminds me, no, you can't. You got to keep pushing and be right and be right. So now we have someone who wants to be right. And also, I think that trickled into you a little bit, wanting to be
Mhm.
right at times.
Yeah.
And then
Many
somebody
times.
who's like super avoidant and like
Mhm.
runs away from the challenge and needs to just like go inward.
Mhm.
That was a yucky combination.
It could be.
What do you mean?
I think we did a great job. I think we both evolved.
Right. But that when that started, that was a yucky combination. Like when we first met each other, we didn't have those issues that we were really
Yeah.
confronting. And I think that that's kind of honeymoon era of couple where it's like everything's great and
I think that
lovely.
the arguments, the real arguments started when we started living together. That is the kind of like the first moments
Yeah.
that I started remembering having like arguments.
And our living together scenario, I mean, it was wild. It was like you came
Yeah.
here May 11th of 2020. I say here to the US, but it was to New York.
Yeah.
And they had just shut down all the borders. It was like the last day that you could have come into the US from Brazil. It was crazy. COVID era. And then we just went to like a cabin in the woods
Mhm.
3 months. And for the first time ever, like we would stay with each other for a week or two at a time
Mhm.
and then go our separate ways. While she was in Malaysia, I was in New York. But then this became like, I don't know if we meant to be moving in together. I think it was just like, let's get you here for the time being.
Yeah, we were kind of like, let's test it out. I think you were kind of that's
Like
funny.
I'm going to marry you. And
No. You were like, yeah, let's just spend time together. And I was like, this is a test for me. Like it's let's try to
no
move in
test here.
together.
I was like, girl, you are confused. I am going to marry you. I'm going to impregnate
No,
you.
you're not.
going
No,
to-
you're not. That's actually one of our biggest arguments.
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't about marriage, but I was going to be with you. And I said that from day one.
Yeah.
You're going to be with you for the rest of my life. Okay, we'll get to the marriage thing. Juicy. But in the meantime, we took that big leap and we were living alone
Mhm.
with no other people.
Yeah.
It was like height of COVID, everybody locked down
Yeah.
in the woods.
Mhm.
I mean, talk about creating like the most triggering environment ever. It was like learning each other's needs and what's comfortable and how we run routines. And Bia was in extremes of ways, the way she did things. I was in extremes of the way I did things. You know, like it was, we
It
had
was such a big shift for
both
a lot of us. A lot of us. I think it was a big shift in society. Like so many people were navigating so many challenges, so many like turns and changes in life. And I think this was a big one for us.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's when communication started to become very important for the two of us, like non negotiable, because we were having fights where like we're living in the woods in a house by ourselves
Mm-hmm.
and like we would argue and then just not talk to each other for 24 hours
Mm-hmm.
in like the middle of the woods. And we literally couldn't do that. We were going to
Yeah.
lose our mind. Like we had to figure it out. And I think there was always a knowingness of like, I think there was so much love there. And I would encourage, you know, couples to remember that like, if you can just think of everything from, at least in my experience with us, when I think of things from a foundation of love, okay, whatever I'm about to do, does this represent the love I have for this person?
Mhm.
Now, if you don't have love for that person anymore, that's a really telling thing. And over time, you're probably not going to want to be in that relationship. And also, I think it's fair to normalize like, some people like move on to new chapters of life and there's ways to have like a healthy uncoupling, you know, different topic for a different day.
But isn't it interesting how the level, I believe of course, we still have improvement, but I believe that the level of communication that we have is a very good level of communication for a couple. And it was because of all the arguments we had.
Yeah.
And I don't think we would be as good as we are right now. And I'm not saying we are the best. I don't think we are. But it is because of all the big arguments we had and the kind of like the lots of confrontations we had.
And I can speak for myself, and I don't know if you'll agree with me, but I remember, and this is just a mentality I've always had around a worldview per se. I would always say to myself, no matter how hard it's getting, this is exactly what we need. This is perfect for us. Not like all positive, like, honey, this is exactly. But I remember in those challenging times saying, this is a moment in time, and I believe that God's path is guiding us where we need to go. And this is just like another opportunity. As I started the podcast, challenging times create an opportunity for growth. So with that mentality for me, and I don't actually think that that's where you were in the beginning.
I absolutely was not.
You were the opposite.
Oh my God, I think we're going to break up.
Yeah, we're making a mistake. This isn't the right guy, right? I definitely remember you even telling me in hindsight, like it was a couple months later, being like, I wasn't sure we were going to make it through that. And I think that just as, if I can like focus on just the dad aspect of this or the masculine aspect of this, I think one of my roles in the relationship is to be the discerning, like steadfast kind of rock.
Yeah.
And because a woman's emotions and her journey is like what we go through in a day, like they go through in this kind of journey of a month, and it's it's this like really wild experience of hormones and emotions. It's so much more complex and, I would say, intricately beautiful than a man. And
we are definitely more complex.
Yeah, complex is a good word. And I don't mean any negative connotation by that. So like there's this complexity to a woman's emotions, feelings, and I believe, at least it's worked for us, and I would stand by this. It is our job to be that foundation when you're kind of in the turbulence of your experience. And I don't mean that like I know and you don't. I mean it like exactly like it happened that time.
I mean, definitely, I think in a relationship, if you have one person, and usually I feel like the guy is kind of like the role for that. Maybe not usually. In our case, you were, and you are. I think you are always this person that really is the rock for it, and it really reminds me of in challenging moments that it's just a roadblock, and it's an important roadblock for us to continue to grow. And I think I have like this more frantic energy when it comes to like arguments.
It's gonna end.
Yeah, it's more like this.
Yeah, but here's the weird part about this is that dudes tend to be IQ or EQ wise, emotionally, on the lower scale compared to women. Women are like, I want to talk, I want to explore, I want to go deeper, blah, blah, blah. And dudes are just like kind of drooling at the side of their mouth half the time, like very caveman, like what? Now that can play into, I would call myself on the more like the higher end of the scale in terms of emotional intelligence, but I think that you don't need to be some emotional genius in order to do what we're talking about right here as the father, as the husband, as the partner in the masculine side. And I think this goes where it's not just men and women, women, man. It's like whoever's playing that stepping into that masculine role, because you need the dynamic of both in every relationship. When you are that masculine figure, it's your job to stay steadfast. Now that can be confusing because now you're navigating like the emotions of the relationship, yet you're technically often seen as the less emotionally tapped in one. And at this time that we're talking about, it was very simple for me. And this is the recommendation I'd make. Make it simple. I'm committed to this partnership. I love this person with my whole heart. We're going to figure it out. That's where my brain was always. It was never even a question. And I said that a billion times over. Like, I remember arguments where I could see in your eyes, you were exploring if this was like the right relationship, if we're going to make it. And I was like, I could see in her eyes that she's exploring if we're going to be doing this in like 8 months. And I'm laughing because I'm like, is she serious? Like, of course. Like, I can be with you forever. So it was funny to watch those two things coexist. Your curiosity and of like, is this going to work? But am I just like, what? Of course it is. So I challenge the masculine figure, I challenge the man in the relationship to be that rock, because you will, and you have the right to, and you should have this ebb and flow of your emotions and your experiences. It's part of the womanly experience.
Mm-hmm. And there would be times, and as we had, I think, where not that you didn't think we wouldn't make it, but I think you had times in our relationship where you would have a weaker, and I don't know if that's the best word to use it here, but like a weaker spot where you were navigating more challenging things. And I think I had to be the rock and I had to be the support. I think over the years, you're definitely like the main person to play that role. But I do believe that I had to play that role in some moments. Yeah.
Like 8 billion%. But also, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, when I think of our relationship, it tended to be, there were some moments. I honestly can't think of a moment where I was in like, is this the right thing? Like, are we going to be together?
When we were deciding about getting married.
Still wasn't about us being together or not. It was, are we going to sign papers to get married or not? Right? So like,
well, it ended up being about getting married or not. So not only about signing papers.
My point being, when it comes to the relationship, my job is to be steadfast. And I think I've always played that role. There are other departments of my life, my work, my relationship with myself, my blah, like all these things where I had been a bloody mess, and you have been the rock for me 1 billion times over. And that never goes unnoticed. And it's super important to recognize too, in a partnership, that there's always going to be the balance of, I lift you up, you lift me up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What I'm talking about in the specifics of like holding it down in the relationship, I would encourage the man to say, this one's on me. It's my job when the craziness is happening to always come back to that solid foundation.
Yeah.
Not to say a woman can't by any means. It's just when we kind of hold that role, I also think it's an incredibly attractive thing for women to look at their men and be like, no matter how batshit crazy I lose it today, I know this man is going to come back to me
for sure,
and take care of me and love me and honor me. And he might get pissed and he might say something disrespectful, or he might not be on board with me, or we might get in an argument where we're not talking for a little bit. But I know that man has got me. And I think that you've always felt that.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm encouraging, the man figure to step up and be. So we're clear on why communication is important. Like it's the thing that keeps us moving and keeps us flowing, keeps us evolving. It actually expands our relationship. One of the things I'm interested in is how do we, like the specifics of how do we effectively communicate? Because one of the things I've noticed over time as I've gotten to know you, you've gotten to know me, and we can bring up the example of, our marriage time and that decision. But one of the things I've noticed is we communicate very differently, and our needs are very different in communication. And both of us are geeks in like the human design aspect of things. And like, if you've never looked into your own human design, like, geez, what are you doing? It essentially gives you the blueprint of who you are. Yep. It's based on astrology, call it woo woo. I mean, it's literally the most accurate thing I've ever read about myself. And every time I read it about someone, I'm like, duh. So it's incredibly, and I read it all the time. This week I've read it. This past 2 weeks, I've read it nonstop. It's 65 pages and I'm like over and over reading it because it keeps reminding me of who I am. And it keeps reminding me of what's normal and real and true for me. And that helps me then come back to the relationship and be who I want to be for it. And then in turn, as I've read yours in pieces, I understand better what's natural to you and how you better communicate with things. So I want to talk about how do you and I effectively communicate, but then, help a listener understand how can I integrate this into my life? And what are the ways in which we communicate differently, and how have we been able to navigate those pieces together?
Well, I think you said one thing that was super important, which is learn about yourself, right? So if you don't understand how you best communicate, you probably will have a hard time in a relationship because you're going to try to match the other way that the person is trying to communicate. And you might have a lot of trouble with that, which I think we had a little bit in the beginning when we were like trying to understand, because for you, you were always like, okay, this is happening. It's
talk about it
hot.
right
Let's
now.
talk right now. And for me, it's like, no, it's hot. I don't want to talk right now because it's not going to go well.
Yeah.
And I need some time to just breathe and just talk about it in a little bit. Maybe in an hour, maybe in one day, maybe in
2 weeks.
no.
But also I do want to acknowledge that there is a version of people who are in the moment and two people who communicate that way and can communicate through that moment.
For sure.
In that moment, right?
For
and
sure.
They have the capacity to do it.
I mean, I think that's the ideal scenario, right? That would be awesome. Two people that can do that. I can't. It's great that you can, but
you've done it. It's just not natural to you, and it doesn't really. It ends up also kind of leaving some things.
Yeah, it's just like it just doesn't sink for me. So I need some time to process a little bit. I need some time to digest myself and to just sit with that thing a little bit, or even distract myself and then go back to that. Like what I need in the moment, it's a little different each time. And I think for you is always like, okay, it's happening. Let's have a conversation. So I think for me, it was important to realize and have the awareness of like, oh, okay, so trying to push in the moment is not the best way that I can communicate it. And it's not going to be the most effective, and it's not going to be the best for our relationship, because if it's not the best for me, it's not going to be the best for the relationship, So I think we had moments where I had to push myself a little bit to like, my natural, not even my natural, what it was program and the way that I learned in my life was to just not talk about it and just leave it. And
build a whole large pool of resentment.
Exactly. So I think I had to realize that and see like, okay, that's not healthy. Not even for me, not even for the relationship. So like, why am I doing that? So a lot of self-awareness, a lot of like personal development to get me to this point of realizing and understanding what is my style of communication. How can I be better? What can I do that it's going to make this relationship better, and what's going to make me a better person? So I think that's the first step, is like understanding and learning about yourself and then trying it out. For me, I think it's like, it was important to try different ways and see what landed and what not. And there are times where I was like, okay, this is not going to work for me, or okay, I can do that. And it's feels like it's best for our relationship.
It's one of the things I most admire about you, because I do remember you trying to like talk it out and how hard that was. And you would just like bite your lip because there's so much shit you wanted to say that was like really negative that you'd resent or regret. And I think that the way in which you tried it and you went for it, I really think that when couples can decide that we're going to experiment with an understanding that this might not work, right? We're new to doing this, whatever it is, this level of communication. We're going to try it, and it might be messy, and it might not look good, and it might go the wrong way. But always come back to leading with love, which is what I said before. Like, is what I'm about to say, is how I'm about to act, is that a loving action? Is that is my intention filled with love? Like, am I trying to get towards love? And that is really supportive. And one of the things that you've always done is you've given it a try. It might have lasted 3 seconds, but you've given it a try. And through all this, one of the lessons that has been so clear to me, that is probably one of the most profound lessons I've learned about relationship as a whole, but definitely with you, is that it's going to be hard either way. Right. And I'm not like calling in hard, like, woohoo, I hope it's all hard. I just acknowledge when we're growing through something, when we're getting to another level, when we're evolving as people, it's either you're going to hold it in and not talk about it and put it in the resentment bucket. And then 6 years down the road, that's going to be really hard to work through, like really ugly, really hard, a lot of shit. And sometimes you may never be able to work through that because you've piled up so much evidence of how that, this person sucks or this partner is the wrong partner or whatever. If you spend 6 years not talking about it, you build up a lot of evidence and that becomes your reality. That's a really, really, really hard thing to work through.
Yeah.
But if we communicate about it, messy, figure it out, maybe not in the moment, but after the hours you need or a day you need or whatever, that also is really hard. But it's the type of hard where it's like, it's a rip off the Band-Aid. It burns, it hurts for that time while you're going through it. And then the dust settles and you can grow on the other side of that. And that's what I've learned about our relationship in a big way.
And I think that there is another thing that we had to learn, we both had to learn, which is like, whenever you are communicating, whenever you have an argument, a confrontation, never comes to a point of blaming, right? So we always get, and it's so easy to happen because it's the nature of being a human, of wanting to put the blame outside of you and not take responsibility. And I think when you come from a place of full accountability and responsibility in every argument and seeing, like, looking at how can I make this better, or like, what is that I'm feeling, and expressing from this place, it just makes the communication easier. And I think I had this very strong way of saying, like, you did this, you always do that, you never do this.
Oh, yes, you did, baby.
And I still sometimes do that.
Oh, yes, you do.
But I think it was an important way to shift and to make our communication better, to allow both of us to be more open to listen. And that's my last point in terms of communication. I think when you are communicating with someone, it's much more important to listen than to speak. And I think it's so easy because we are feeling so much. So, and I think now I'm realizing that's part of why for me it's so hard to talk in the moment. It's because it's hard for me to listen.
Right.
And I think it is so important to listen to the other.
Yeah, your thoughts get so loud.
Yeah.
Like I watch you interpreting the thoughts in your head. And I'm seeing her say, I hate this mofo, right? Like the dark stuff in her head. I'm watching her process that. It's amazing I think we should normalize taking like 5 deep breaths between sentences. When you're in a heated argument, when you're really confronting someone, especially your partner who, by the way, you know so much about that person. So you have, like, when you play Battleship, the game Battleship, you guys have Battleship in Brazil?
I think so.
It's like when you have the 2 boards, you put the ships there, and you have to guess the number. So like when you're playing Battleship with somebody, but you could see their whole board, you can cheat real easy, right? Cheat shots are available. And when you live with somebody, when you learn the darkest, deepest things about them, when you start to learn their childhood stuff, when you start to learn their relationship with their parents, it's very easy to take cheap shots
for sure
in those moments. And we have had little moments of that. I'm lucky to say that. I don't think we've done that a lot. And that can destroy a relationship.
For sure. It hurts a lot. And you're like, it's a mean thing to do. And sometimes because we are human, we just go to the mean thing and we are not hurt the person because we felt hurt.
Yeah,
that's what we do, not only in a marriage, but in any relationship. We want to like poke on that person. We want that person to feel what we are feeling, but that's not what it's going to create a loving relationship.
Yeah, it's not coming from love. Like it's that foundational thing I've been saying. So I want to normalize 5-second breaths. And I don't think we do this enough, actually. Like when we're having that argument,
I give a lot of deep breaths.
But notice how fast the talking gets when we get in an argument, right? You say something, I say something. You say something, I say something. If the rule was, number 1 rule, buy silly hats. I love this. How many times did you do that? Hot girl cup down. Classic.
Thanks.
I think that there is this huge opportunity to slow down. Number 1, wear funny hats, meaning like get a silly hat that you can't look at somebody, or a wig. Wigs are better, actually. Get a wig for each of you, or get a couple wigs from Amazon cheap, and wear a wig while you're having this argument and see how serious you can be. I think that that's hilarious. I think it's great. And I get there's sometimes like mega deep conversations that don't wear the wig. But when it's coming to like shit where you're just arguing with each other and it's going to be something that they're semi-dumb things, you both kind of know it, wear the wig and then just have those conversations with the wig on, number one. Number two, take a breath. So what if the rules were we have to wait a minimum of 5 seconds between responding to each other's thing, even 10 seconds? It just slows things down. Mm-hmm. And it allows me to like notice the immediate response, check if I want to say it, and then reset, and then speak. And I think we should normalize that being cool. Like 10-second pauses in between, because I'm about to say something out of reaction, and that's not creation mode. It's reaction mode.
Yeah.
And we would be remiss to not acknowledge Rob in this process. Like when we started coaching with our couples coach during the marriage time with Rob, one of the things he said so clearly was no you language. Like no, it was the blame thing. No, stop using the word you. You did this. You always. And then the other one was always and never. Like no hard things. You always, you never. It's almost never the case that those are accurate. You always say this. No, she doesn't. She says that maybe a lot, but she doesn't always say it. Or you never do that. You never do the dishes. Really? She's never done the dishes. Even if she hasn't done the dishes ever, don't say never. It never works.
Yeah.
It just creates this. It immediately creates a you versus me thing.
Yeah.
It's a position, which invites opposition. And now we're trying to win. And we're a team. And that's the part that I like. That's what I get most, if I'm being honest, as like a husband. The part that creates the most shame for me, that I get most embarrassed about, is when I forget that we're a team. And I would say that that's the most important thing about all of this, is that no matter what's happening, even when we're fighting each other, teammates fight. But when you remember that you have the same ultimate goal, which is to create a beautiful, healthy relationship together, build a family together, especially as the kid stuff starts happening, it's like we're the team. And if the team breaks down, there's nothing left. So that is maybe perhaps the most important part of all of this for me, is remembering as the foundation, as the father figure, as the husband, as the guy who holds it down, this is my teammate. And I'll never, my commitment is always to my team, rather than my own personal, stuff. Stuff's a really deep word.
Yeah.
My own personal stuff. Yeah. I think that's really important. And I think, just briefly talking about the marriage piece, our story in a very miniature version is that
was one of our biggest arguments
I think that
of all times.
It was so intense, like that argument. What was it? April was the first conversation that we had brought up about it.
Me.
So,
because it was when you were going back.
Yeah, it was like April and end of April, early May, whatever. We were having a conversation for the first time because I had gotten detained in the airport in Brazil by police, the federal police, for 11 hours. It was absurd, for doing nothing. Like I was entering and exiting the country totally legally, no issues. This guy in jean jacket and jeans, who was wearing a full jean getup, and he had long hair. And I had some.
There's still resentment there.
Pulled me over at like 5 a.m. at customs and had me like in lockdown. Took my passport. It was super scary. Nonetheless, that brought us to the conversation of we can't keep doing this hop from America, hop to the US thing. Like we're running into a problem here. We're just dating at that point. And we've been together how long? It's 2021.
No, so 2021. So
almost 2 years, or a year and a half.
Yeah, a year and a half.
And I kind of had this vision of like, I kind of wanted to do the Cristiano Ronaldo thing. Like, I'm just going to have a smoking hot partner. We don't need to ever get married. I'm just going to freaking kill it. And we'll have kids and family, whatever, but we don't need to get married. Forget about it. That's kind of was my, like, I just never even thought about it, which is weird, but I didn't. And you were like, so you had brought up the conversation of marriage.
I mean, it was just a very stressful day trying to, call everybody that I knew to get you out of the
because they were shipping me back to New York. Like, they were literally like, you need to not only go back to New York, you're not allowed out of the airport, and you need to buy a ticket for tonight and get out of here. And they had 2 cops sitting with me for 11 hours.
And I was, since the 5 a.m. when everything started happening, just like trying to figure out, calling people, calling this, going to the airport, talking to this. It was just a very stressful day. And I was like, this is Brazil. This is not even the US. Like, it's much worse in the US. Like, that's not common to happen in Brazil. So I have always been like in this stressful thing of like, as a tourist going to the US is already like a stressful thing. As someone like going to the US all the time, and like, if I ever like say that I have a boyfriend in the US, like, my situation would be so complicated. So just having to navigate this very stressful day, I came to you after everything that we went through and leaving the airport and everything being like, okay, like, you can get in. And I was like, what if we need to figure that out?
We had looked at a bunch of different options. We started to look at school.
Yeah, I started looking into like student visa and like work visa,
Beyonce
visa, like all this stuff. And I told you, I was like, if you get into a point where we get to get married, and we have to get married to just make things right and not having this problem anymore, would you do it? And his answer was, I mean, if that's what we have to do, sure. But I don't like, I wouldn't like things to be in this way.
I think I laughed first.
Hmm?
I think I laughed.
No, you didn't laugh at this moment. No, that was not a laugh.
That was a later on thing.
That was another experience. Yeah. That was when you fake propose. You didn't propose me, but I thought you were proposing, and then you laughed. Like, it was just
another story. The proposal story for another day. That's great. That's a little cliffhanger.
That's when you laugh. And that was another.
So this one was really like, we had to make a decision logistically, and I was really struggling because that's a huge commitment thing, and I'm now like still processing all that.
At that point, I didn't have to make any decision. Just ask you, and you were like, "Yeah, if we have to do that." So in my head, it's like you knew that we would maybe get into a point where we would have to get married. And when you answered that, it's like, yeah, he's fine with it. So like,
in my head, it was like paperwork. Like, if we need to sign some paperwork, would you be down? Well, and this is how Brazilian. By the way, Brazilians, y'all are crazy. Todos brasileiros loucos. Everybody's like, whatever, who cares? Get married. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Like, they literally don't care. They were all just like, whatever. It's so accurate. No. Whereas America, you're like, oh my God, am I about to do that? Like, this is a huge commitment. They're like, whatever. So it's very Brazilian.
Well, so then we start the conversation. Then like, I went and I looked into all these options. Nothing was working. Everything was so expensive and blah, blah, blah. So we got into the decision, okay, so let's get married. And that's when you started like freaking out. And like, then you start opening the conversation about like, I don't even know if I ever wanted to be married. And I'm like, what do you mean? What are we doing here? So like, it's just like open up a huge Pandora box of so many things that we have never like spoke about it or really like expressed to each other. And I think was another important point on like how communication is so important. And he makes fun of me because I watch Love is Blind. But like, I think that's an amazing thing about Love is Blind, where you are forced in a situation where you have to talk about all these things. And I think it's an amazing thing when you think about the communication into a couple. Like, it really strongs the foundation of the relationship, making you talk about hot topics and things that usually you spend years before you even open the Pandora box, even talk about what you think about
stuff. I mean, to a certain extent. Listen, I think that, yes, there is some value to that, to have those conversations. And it's also like, those conversations come up when they're meant to come up. So like, artificially putting them in the room.
For sure. But like, they are,
I hope you can hear she's not recommending you go on Love is Blind. She's not.
I'm definitely not recommending unless you were like, you have tried in the real world and you're like,
She said unless. Okay, let's keep going because this is terrifying. I think you're enrolling people into this. So I disagree with that. But bottom line is that we had this really challenging situation, and it got to a really intense point where we almost couldn't communicate about it.
yeah.
Like we literally couldn't sit down and talk about it. It was like explosive. It would
Yeah,
just be
because
like,
it's such a hot thing and we had such a different perspective
yeah.
and points of view that we were like, really, it was a very hard one.
And now in hindsight, both of us, I would say maybe more me, but more or less doesn't really matter. Both of us had to confront serious truths about ourselves at that moment. Like
Way more you for sure.
yeah, personal, very personal, deep stories about commitment and permanence. Like that was what I was confronting at that time. Freedom was the biggest one. My number one value is freedom. And this felt like when I get married, I will lose all freedom. And long story short, it got to a point where because we almost couldn't communicate about it effectively, or not almost, we could not. That's when we, for the first time, integrated a third party and and really explored the idea of getting support from a couples coach. And Rob was world changing during that time. I mean,
I would say we spent like between 6 to 10 weeks on this.
yeah, just that topic. Working with somebody who, as I would say something or as Bia would say something, he would be not the mediator, but like he would stop the fire, like the shots fired. He would just block them.
It would be the neutral point.
It was just a neutral standpoint. And I think that you can go call a friend or whatever, but everybody's always got some type of skin in the
bias. Yeah.
A bias, right? Rob was neutral.
Yeah.
And to be able to have a coach, a therapist even, that can stand there and help you have a neutral space.
Mm-hmm.
It can help you you can have the mirror then that you can't have when you're so caught up in your emotions with somebody. And sometimes those sessions would turn into like full focus on Bia. Sometimes those sessions would turn into full focus on Nick. And like the other one would just be there to observe. And that was so powerful at times when that had to be done.
Yeah.
So I want to invite people to like, don't feel like it's weakness or a small relationship thing. Like you're not good enough. Don't think that that's what's happening when you need support from the outside. Actually, it's the more courageous act, in my opinion, because that's why we're here. That's why there's a baby in your belly. Like only because we loved each other enough and we were committed enough to this relationship to realize that we were in over our heads at that point. And we could maybe figure it out down the road, but the trauma that would have ensued on the way there might have been insurmountable. Does that make sense? Like the stuff that we would have said to each other, the fights we would have had, the intensity of the negotiations and the arguments might have built up so much of that resentment over time.
Yeah.
That we might not have been able to come back from it. So the fact that we leaned into getting support and like researched that and figured it out, it immediately created some peace and ultimately helped me understand my kind of ending point. And you can show your engagement ring so we can like kind of recognize the importance of this. So on Bia's ring, there are 2 small diamonds on the side. This is not what I wanted to do. I really wanted like a single diamond thing for her because it just was like classy and simple. But I knew I had to do this way because these 2 small diamonds on the side are representative of the you and the me. So like this part of, there's this me thing called Nick, and there's an identity to that, and there's values and beliefs and all this stuff. It's a human system. And then there's the you called Beatrice, and all these things and all these emotions and all these experiences, this unique, perfect, incredible human. And then there's the us, which is a completely separate entity built by those 2 things, which is complicated and constantly evolving and challenging and beautiful and amazing. And that's that center diamond. And the you, me, and the us must be co-creating, working together in communication, in teamwork. And they must be independent of each other. There
Mhm.
must be a Bia, there must be a Nick, and there must be the
Us.
entity called us.
Mhm.
And that's what that ring represented. And to this day, it's something we often lean on. Like, you need to go do your thing. Like, go, if you need to go do your thing, do your thing. If I need to go do my thing, I go do my thing so that the us can exist.
Yeah.
And I think that it's very easy to call that weakness or like there's a disconnect there. And it taught me that that's the total opposite. That getting in a relationship has, and this is a topic maybe for our next one,
Mhm.
getting in a relationship has deeply enhanced my connection to myself times a million. It has made me explore things that I never thought I would have to explore.
Mhm.
And we can kind of leave that cliffhanger for another day.
For sure.
But I just want to say how I know that we're saying all this kind of like, this is what you do and this is how it is. But I think the person that you are and your heart and how amazing you are as a partner and just how you literally exude love is the reason why I feel like it's okay to be that force in the relationship that reminds us we're always going to make it. And I just think you have the most beautiful essence, and that always gives me permission to go back to that love foundation. So I just want to say thank you for that. And I just feel like the luckiest guy in the world. I don't feel like
the
I
luckiest
am.
girl.
I am.
I love you.
I love you too. I hope that whatever you got out of today, that you were able to understand that communication is the foundation of any relationship, and it's the thing that keeps it going or the thing that breaks it down, and that it's important enough to find ways to make it a priority. Whether you're busy, you got work, you got this, you got that, it's hard. It doesn't matter. It's going to be hard either way, which, like, do you want it to be hard today or do you want it to
Choose
be
your
hard?
hard.
Yeah, choose your hard, dude. So whatever this thing was that stuck out to you, specifically to our dads, like, dude, it is your job to get really forward about your commitment to the love and the stability of the relationship. Get after it. Find the ways to make it happen. Honor your partner's communication style while also understanding what yours is. Find the way in which those two mesh and make magic of your relationship. It's helping you grow. It's never a problem. The problem's never the problem. The problem's always the perspective. Just keep trusting that whatever's coming up is helping you become more of who you're meant to be. And that's what you are for me. So thank you. We love having you guys watch. Thank you for being such a beautiful part of our lives. We love being able to have these conversations, and we look forward to seeing you guys on the next one.
Yes.